Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. This is my first time speaking, so, doing something out of my comfort zone, but I'm really happy to be here and you guys are all friendly faces, so that helps a lot. But yeah, so I'm here to talk about my interpretation of thread, and I do have some art pieces that I've been doing. I hope you guys can see this okay. And these two over here also, ones that I've done. But yeah, they all represent the topic thread or what it means to me. So I'll go ahead and talk about those two. But first, I want to kind of tell you guys about myself and kind of where I came from. So I'm an Arizona native. I've been here my whole life. I have lived in Colorado for about a year, and that was so cold. So I maybe miss the Arizona desert. My gosh, I don't do well in cold. Definitely a heat person. So this is my home. And I, have made some friends here, and I went to school at Desert Mountain High School. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Desert Mountain, but it's in Scottsdale. It's where I grew up. So I'm very familiar with Arizona. I love to camp. I also love to travel. I have been to Europe. So Europe was really fun. If you guys have never been to Italy or Greece, highly recommend going. It's beautiful in both countries. I did that with Girl Scouts, actually. Saved up a lot of cookie sale money and we were able to go, which was really cool. Oh yeah, nobody at my age was going to Europe. It was so awesome to be one of the first people in my class to say, I went to Europe. So that was pretty cool. Learned a lot about the culture as well. So that was really cool to learn all the architecture and all the history about both countries. I've also been to Mexico. I did a missions trip in Mexico when I was 18 years old, and I built 4 houses for 4 Mexican families. And I'll tell you, that was a lot of hard work, but it was way worth it because we gave these people homes and they even had electricity and plumbing. We did the whole thing. So they were very grateful for that. So that was a really cool experience for me as well. Let's see, I volunteer sometimes as well to clean up down by the Salt River with some awesome people. We do that on Sunday mornings. Yeah, it's actually really awesome. We get up early and we pick up trash, and we also get rid of that nasty stinkweed that's been taking over the desert that nobody likes, and I'm allergic to it, so I definitely hate it. But that's a really rewarding thing to do. I also used to volunteer with owls and do like a raptor rescue, and I rehabilitated crows, ravens, hawks, eagles, owls of all kinds. We actually have a project in Tucson that they build for burrowing owls. So I also help with that as well. That was really rewarding. So yeah, I think I've done a lot of really cool things in life, kind of give back to the community and my animals. I love nature, which actually brings me to my topic. So I have a question for you guys. How many of you are scared of spiders? I want to see those hands because I know most of you are. Okay. Me too, actually. Well, I used to be. So the one thing, the reason why I picked spider webs actually as my topic is because a couple of reasons. One, I was absolutely mortified of spiders. And I'm going to tell you a story as to why I was mortified. So when I was a kid, I was camping with my grandparents and I had to use the restroom really bad. And there was a bathroom there. And then when I went into this bathroom, there were spiders all over the place. They were on the floor, they were on the ceiling, they were coming down to greet me from the ceiling up there. They were all over, and I was scared. I was like, I don't want to go in there and deal with these spiders. Ew, like icky, And so I faced my fear and I went in and did, went to the bathroom like I, needed to, and that was that. But yeah, just was terrified from spiders for a long time. Like just the feeling of the webs and just their creepy crawly legs and like how their little bodies, like, ooh, they're just creepy, right? So creepy. So I got over that when I got older, and I love insects and I love bugs and nature. So that's why I picked spider webs. So, and they also remind me of Halloween as well. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. So I kind of did a couple different ones. My fear of black widows. I feel like when you paint something or put something on paper or canvas, kind of helps with your fear a little bit. Like it's not so scary. So that's kind of why I did the black widow, because they used to terrify me. I mean, look at that thing. They eat their husbands too. So you know, they're man eaters, hence actually why I called that a man eater. That's the name of the painting. So I was terrified of those, but not anymore. I find them more fascinating than anything, and they're beautiful creatures. And look at that web. So the thing is with spider webs is there's different kinds of spider webs. They're not all the same, right? There's some that are very messy, like this one right here, and they're very sticky, you know, and that's why they build them like that actually is because that's how they hunt. That's how they get food, right? It's their livelihood. This is their life. So the web represents their life because man, do they work hard on that web. They spend a lot of time weaving and making these webs, and it takes them a long time. And then what happens when you go mess it up? They got to do it again, and they do it again and again and again. And these guys will do webs, and they will spin webs as many times as they can until it's the end. And sadly for the female Black Widow, they die after they have babies, and then their babies will take over the web. So they give it like your life, right? We all have our own little spider webs that we're all weaving, right? Some of them are messy, some of them are falling apart maybe. Some of them are just starting out and they're just small, and you know, soon they'll become this beautiful, intricate design. But that's kind of how I view the spider web is life, right? It's our life, your life. And then you come over here, and this one kind of reminds me of like summer. I kind of decided to make it a little more colorful, a little more lighter. So think of it like you're camping and you see a spider web next to a pond or a lake or something beautiful. And there's a little bit of dew that's stuck on the web to make it kind of glisten and sparkle. So they're not all ugly. There's a lot of beautiful spider webs out there, you know, just like everybody's life, right? So that's kind of the reason why I thought of thread. I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to think about, you know, what I was gonna talk about. And I thought, that's an interesting topic, thread. I wonder what thread means to me. And so that's honestly the main reason why I chose the spider web is that's my first thought of what thread is spider webs, you know, and the fear, you know, that I dealt with when I was a kid to not being afraid now. That's another big part of it as well. But I find spider webs being really beautiful. They're art pieces. It's nature's art, you know. And like I said, there's different kinds. So I explained the messy one. Then you got these really, really pretty like spoke wheel webs. That's from an orb spider, by the way. They get really big. I've seen them in California the size of a silver dollar. So they get huge, but they're harmless. And you know what? Spiders are mostly harmless, by the way. So those of you who are afraid of it, you know, they really don't harm you as much as people think. About, I think 5% of all spiders in the world are actually harmful to humans. One of them being the Black Widow, obviously. You don't want to get bit by one of those because that's not fun. But most spiders are harmless. You know, they don't really care about you. They care about their webs, right? And their food. And they just eat bugs. They don't eat humans. I promise. I have seen a Black Widow eat a hummingbird. So I know that they can do that. But most of the time, they're not after you, right? They're just there to kind of mind their own business, you know, kind of weave their web and do their thing. And that's their life, though. They don't move from that. That's it, you know? So it's like when you walk through one, you're destroying a home. So that's kind of how I look at spiderwebs now is like, oh, it's a beautiful, intricate art piece that, you know, you just don't want to disturb. I mean, obviously there's accidents, but you know, you got to try to avoid that. But yeah, I just thought that was really kind of a cool representation of what thread is the spider webs and my love for insects. I used to get made fun of a lot for that too, by the way, when I was growing up. Like, oh, you're a girl, but you like bugs, you're weird. And it's like, yeah, I am weird, and that's okay. I embrace my weirdness. But I hope you guys like my art pieces. I worked really hard on these two. Took me months actually to kind of create them. I used acrylic paint, by the way. So I did this one with acrylic mostly, and this one is chalk and charcoal and acrylic. I like to do mixed media art pieces. So that's what that one is. And then this guy over here, this one's way more fun looking. So this one is also acrylic paint with charcoal and chalk for the web. And of course I had a little bit of glitter, you know, make it a little sparkly. So that's what I did for this one. And then I've been painting since I was, oh goodness, I think I was about 9 years old when I actually started to draw. And what did I draw? I drew a giant praying mantis, my favorite, a bug, because that's what inspires me, is being in nature and being around insects. I've been around it my whole life. So, it's kind of one of those things you kind of grew up with. But yeah, that's where I started my art is 9 years old, and I've been in contests as well. I've won a couple contests, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and this is actually my first time talking about my art. So this is another milestone for me as well as being here today, telling you guys about my art and kind of where it came from and a little bit about where I came from too. But yeah, that's basically, about my art. I love doing art. I try to do it as much as I can. It's my therapy, basically. And it depends on my mood. Clearly, I painted that one during Halloween time because, it's a little darker, which is my favorite time of year. And same thing with the Black Widow. I think I did that one also around October. Makes sense, right? And then this one I did a little bit after. So a little bit after Halloween. But that's what inspired me to do these 2 pieces or 3 pieces. So, and they're for sale too, just to let you guys know. But yeah, I do markets too, by the way. I do First Friday a lot. I also do that little markets in Mesa once in a while. I have done that. We're actually doing First Friday in December. So if you guys want to come out to First Friday, it's free. And you guys should totally come because, there's a lot of cool stuff there. And there's a lot of food. But yeah, I do First Friday quite often. It is really fun to do that and meet people. So, and that's why I'm doing this today too, is to make connections with everybody and meet new people and kind of little talk about myself and my art. So yeah. But yeah, does anybody have any questions for me about anything? We're doing, I guess, a Q&A. Yeah, go ahead. You in the hat, you're first. Oh, do you want the mic? Yeah, go for it.
Feel a sense of connection or relationship with the spiders, like you speak to them, they speak back to you. Or is that taking it too far?
No, here, I'll answer your question. Honestly, that's a great question. To answer that, I think so actually, because like I was saying in the beginning, I was terrified. I didn't want to get near spiders. Like one crawled on me, I would go, flick it off, and there it went, right? But now I feel like when I look at them, I just observe and try not to like mess with them a whole lot, right? But I definitely think that I have a connection with nature just because of my love for nature. And the fact that I don't want to harm anything nature. Ask him, I get upset when a moth gets squished or anything like that. I'm just like, no, because it's a life, So yeah, I definitely feel a connection with nature. Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. Thank you. And then you're next, my dear. Yes, go for it.
Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna come over so people on Zoom can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they can't hear me?
Oh, no, they can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was saying I'm pretty loud.
I recently, building back on the fear of spiders,
Yeah.
I recently learned of a term called hypnopompic hallucination,
Oh,
which is when you're in like the in-between awake and sleep phase and you wake up
wow.
and hallucinate. And a really, really common one, like one of the most common ones, is everyone wakes up and sees spiders
Yeah.
crawling all over their bed.
Yep, that's crazy.
Just an FYI.
Yeah, no, that's a good, no,
Thank
that's
you.
cool. Honestly, that's really interesting. I did not know that. No. And you know what I think also is, you guys remember that movie that came out in the 90s called Arachnophobia with Jeff Daniels? Okay, see, everybody knows. Okay, I've seen that movie. And I think that movie in general gave everybody a really false impression of spiders because they made it sound like they were attacking you. Like, oh my gosh, here comes a wolf spider, it's gonna eat me. It's like, no, they don't eat people. But that movie though made people, I think, really afraid of spiders because everybody brings that up. Like, oh, did you see that movie Arachnophobia? Yeah, I think we all did, right? It was a big hit back in the 90s, It's a great movie, don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful movie, but man, they definitely misinterpreted spiders in that movie, that's for sure. So I can understand why people were more afraid, around that time, for sure. I don't blame them. Same thing with Eight-Legged Freaks. Do you remember that one too? That was another movie that made people scared of spiders. Oh yeah, that was giant spiders.
Yeah, I don't.
No, that was a fun one. I see him over there wincing going, oh, it's an entertaining movie. But yeah, definitely know the fear for sure. I have that, so I get it. Anybody else by way of question? Oh, I love it. Here you go, sir. I'll bring it to you.
Two-parter.
That's okay. Go for
I'm
it.
gonna come over with Zoom people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We'll follow you.
So the first one, you made me think of something that I've tried
Yeah.
hard to repress, was
Okay.
I was in the shower one time
Oh, boy.
and I saw a spider and it was kind of plump and I was like, that's a bit of a spider. That's
Yeah.
Right? So I squished it with a shampoo bottle
Uh-huh.
and baby spiders spray up the wall.
Yes. Yes.
And naked Robbie runs out of my apartment. I'm like, "Ah."
Yep, I've had that
Uh,
happen.
So thank you for that.
Yep.
Second of all, yeah. You mentioned that those took a couple months to work on.
Yes.
What does that look like? Do you try something and then it doesn't work, so you paint over it and you start again, or are you adding on a little bit at a time over the course of 2 months, or what does that
Great
look like?
question. No, I like that question. Oh, here, I'll grab it from you. Thank you. That's a good question. I like that. So yes, what I'll do is I'll take a break, a mental break, right? Because I mean, when you work on something like that, it really takes a lot out of you, honestly, just energy wise, your focus. So you do put a lot of effort, right? But I'd say I came back to it a couple times. Like I would work on the plants right here, like the cool like little weed plant right here. I would work on that. And then I look at it and go, what kind of spider web do I want to do? Do I want to do a really messy one like this guy right here? Or do I want to do something more intricate and more detailed, a little bit more pretty, if you will, cooler design. So that's what made me think of these. And also, really quick story, I face planted one of those one time in California. I just straight up walked right into this thing, and the spider, because they usually sit right here in the middle, I walked right into that spider, and that spider was not happy with me. But I didn't hurt him, but definitely felt that in my face when I walked right by him. That was my grandma was like, are you okay? Because she saw my face of horror. But anyways, so I really like those types of spiders. Those are my favorite, the orb weavers. So yeah, I think it does take some effort for sure. And then I get tired and then I come back. So it's a process, doesn't happen in one day. Oh, yes. Did you want to, you had a two-parter. Was that your second question? Oh, okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
First of all, thanks for, walking us through your whole process.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, how people sometimes are creative and organized, and then some people are, messy, and maybe one person can be both at different times. But are spiders the same way? Like I know one of your spider web
Mhm.
is very organized, very pretty,
Mhm.
very symmetrical, and then the other one was all haphazard.
Mhm.
Does the Black Widow ever make like a nice, pretty one?
That's a good question. No, they do not. It's
So they always make messy ones?
Uh-huh, they do.
Wow.
And honestly, they can get pretty long. I've actually seen some go from like, for example, maybe this corner to like all the way over to this corner. Like they're not small. They make a big web. And it's
Wow.
very strong. I don't know if you guys have ever felt like a Black Widow web, but they're very, very thick and they're very strong for a reason. Because like I said, they eat hummingbirds and birds sometimes. So you kind of need a strong web to catch.
And their husbands.
Yeah, exactly. And their husbands, yes. That's definitely a big one for them, for sure. That's their first meal, actually, is their husband. So, yeah. So, but that's a great question. Did you have another one?
No.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Sharon, did you want to go next? This is my friend Sharon. She's amazing. You might.
Good morning.
Cool.
Good morning, Morgan. Everyone, you can follow Morgan's IG page, Desert Lotus 1699. My question to you this morning is, how long have you been painting? And does another painter inspire you? Any other
Ooh,
painters?
Yes, thank you. Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. I love that question. Yes. So I've been painting, oh boy, if I started at 9, I'm actually 34 years old. So that would be 29 years. I've been painting for 29 years. So long time, but I definitely was not amazing at first. I was kind of, I was learning. So, you start off obviously at the learning phase, but I definitely have been self-taught. I haven't really taken many classes. I took like maybe 2 in high school just for fun because I wanted to have an escape from school. So art was my escape. So I definitely did a couple classes, but most of my work is honestly just self-taught. I just kind of teach myself new skills. I do watch videos just to kind of get ideas, but I try them out. I go, oh, that's a cool idea. I want to try that. and then I sit down, I actually try it, and if I really like it, I'll continue. But my first time doing mixed media was only a few years ago. So I that's new for me, is mixing the different types of media. I used to just do watercolor. Watercolor was like my main medium, and I love watercolor. That's what I started out with. And then I moved to acrylic, which is funny because most people start off with acrylic first, and then they will move into watercolor, but not me. I dove right in. I was like, watercolor, that's my thing. I think I'm gonna do that. But now I do other types, which is pretty cool. So yeah, good question. Was that your question, Sharon? Did you ask me another one too? Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry, thank you. The painters that inspire me, wow, that's hard because I love all artists really. I would say people who are familiar with Monet. I really like Monet. I really love the colors he uses. I really love the nature paintings that he does. Like my favorite one is Lilies. I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's a very famous painting. That's my favorite painting. I love that painting. In fact, I've been trying to want to recreate that one, but with watercolor. So I might do something similar here in the future with watercolor to kind of, I guess, have my interpretation of it, but I love Monet. Monet is my favorite. And Van Gogh is like right after that. Van Gogh is really cool. So yeah, good questions. I like those. Anybody else have any questions? I'm an open book. You can ask anything. Go for it.
I can hold it for you. Okay.
So number one,
Mhm.
spiders are super fascinating. You can learn about them. There's a cool podcast called Ologies, and she interviews experts in
Mhm.
various fields, and she's got a spider episode. And
Oh,
so she
cool.
talks about why they use the different kinds of
Mhm.
anyway.
I
So
love that.
tidbit. But I'm
Mhm.
curious how you moved from fear to interest,
Yes.
and like letting them be a muse rather
Mhm.
than an ick.
Yeah. That's a great question. I love that one too. That's the ultimate question, right? Honestly, it's research, because when I was afraid, honestly, I was like most people. I didn't know anything about spiders. I just thought, ew, look at that creepy thing with 8 legs walking on the ground. Like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden, this is gonna be crazy to sound, or it sounds crazy, but I got a tarantula as a pet. Yeah. So I did that when I was 21. I lived up in Prescott, and I had a friend who bred reptiles and tarantulas and all kinds of things. And he gave me a tarantula, just gave it to me. I bought the cage for it and everything, and I bought all the materials, but he gave me the spider, and it was a blonde-kneed Brazilian spider. So this thing got huge, and it was a female, and females are way bigger than males. I'm sure you guys have seen photos of like male is about like this big compared to a female, which is like huge. They're a lot bigger because they have babies, right? So they have to be a little bigger. So this thing got the size of a dinner plate. It's a big spider. And that got my fear actually over, or that made me get over my fear, was having this tarantula, because I would hold it. And I go, you know what? This is the coolest, most docile creature. It just crawled on my arm and my hand, didn't want to bite me, didn't even care about me really, just wanted to hang out. And I let it all over me. And I was like, you know what? They're not that scary. I think the fear went away when I got my tarantula. I named her Scully because she had, I don't know if you've ever seen a blondie tarantula, but they're kind of similar to a red kneed, but they're blonde, and they kind of look like a skeleton on the outside. Like if you look it up on Google, it looks kind of like skeleton legs. So that's why I picked the name Scully. So I'm like, oh, reminds me of like a skeleton. That's cool. And I had her, man, for about 8 years. And then I gave her to my brother and my brother has her, I think he gave her to another friend, but they live like 10 years. They live a long time, tarantulas in captivity. So that was where I got over my fear, was having a pet spider. Yeah. And I made all my friends hold it too, because they were like, I'm terrified of spiders. And I'm like, not after today, you won't be. Here. And they would hold my spider and go, that's not so bad. And I'm like, right? It's really not. They're very, very docile. Most of the time, they don't want anything to do with you. So I think that's where that, fear went away for sure, is having a pet spider. I guess that'd be the ultimate way to get over a fear, is just to have one, right? But that's a good question. I like that. Anybody else have any other questions? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you. My helper. Thank you.
Anything
They're so cute.
So you do paintings. Do you ever scan your art, make it digital so people can like buy prints?
I'm really glad you brought that up because I have stickers all over my water bottle. They're all mine. This is all my art. So yes, I do make stickers. I make prints of my art as well, but I love making stickers. Stickers are a huge hit right now. Yeah, just in general, you know.
And then do you ever make digital art or is it all physical painting?
You know, good question. I wanted to get into digital art, but mostly I just do like, I'm an old school person. I like to hold it in my hands and get dirty with it, get the chalk on my fingers, get the paint under my fingernails. I like that feeling. Sometimes I'll even use my fingers for, my art pieces as well. I mean, why not? They're instruments, right? So that's kind of what I do for my art, but I like that. It's a good question. Yeah. But digital art's cool. Don't get me wrong. Digital art is awesome. I just haven't tried it myself, but I'm open to it. I just need a digital pad. But yeah, one day, yes, I would love to get more into digital art for sure. Cause that is also the future, right? Everything is digital now. And also it's easy to do that, usually on a digital art pad versus drawing it. Cause it kind of does it for you. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it kind of sculpts out for you what you're going to draw. So it's a little bit easier to use it. But yeah, I like all art mediums. Yeah, good question. I like that one. Oh yeah, go for it. Yes, please.
So I kind of have a two-parter.
Yeah.
First, as an artist who is now selling
Mhm.
and kind of made it, I guess, a profession, what advice would you give to, say, an artist that's on the edge and thinking of going into like taking that risk, right? It's kind of a risk of like, okay, now you got to make it happen. And then on the other side, what do you do just with creative block? Just like a creative, I call it writer's block, but creative block, right? Where
Yeah.
it's just this, nothing's coming to you, and
It
just to hear the
happens.
type of, inspiration. Where, what do you do? Do you walk, or, I don't know, where do you get?
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Here, I'll go and take the mic real quick. Thank you, dear. Great. I love those questions too. Those are good ones too. Thank you. For the first question, well, I definitely took some time to put myself out there. I did not put myself out there right away. It is a little fear mongering because you're pretty much basically exposing yourself, right, with your art, because a lot of emotion, right, goes into art. So you're pretty much putting yourself out there, and it's scary for a lot of people. I was nervous when I first did it, but honestly, you just do it because you know why? You're always going to say, well, that one day, maybe that one day I'll do it. And you know what? You're going to say that till you're dead. You know what I mean? So in my mind, you just got to do it. Just kind of got to put yourself out there, even though it might be embarrassing at first or maybe nerve-wracking, but you'd be surprised the turnaround people have with art. They really do appreciate art, like just in general. I've been surprised myself. Like I come up with a painting that I'm like, shoot, I don't really like that much. And then someone else will be like, oh my God, this is amazing. How did you do that? And I'm just sitting there going, I love that you see that, And that actually happened with my boyfriend. He liked a painting that I didn't really care for. And now it's hanging up in our house on the wall and he loves it. But I didn't see it. I was like, I just kind of did that just for the heck of it, just to kind of paint something. But he was like, no, he's like, that's amazing. We're going to hang that up. So I think it just depends on perception. Everybody's got a different perception of art, and that's what makes it so beautiful and fun, is that everybody's going to see something different than maybe you or the person next to you. But yeah, definitely a fear for sure. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not, definitely had a fear at first with that. And then to answer your second question, writer's block or creator's block, that is a real thing. Definitely do not feel inspired every day. No, there are days I wake up where I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. I'm not in the mood. But I think for me, nature helps a lot, like going up to Sedona and Flagstaff and places that are kind of out of the city. For me, that's my inspiration, is nature. I know everyone's different, but for me, that's what I like to do when I have that writer's block or creative's block. Also watching documentaries. So if maybe I can't get out of the city, I will turn on Nat Geo or go to Disney Plus, and Nat Geo is like all over Disney Plus. You can watch tons of documentaries. And I also get sucked into those, and I will watch nature documentaries to also kind of help with my inspiration. But I think nature is my biggest inspiration. Any nature, whether it's up north or out in the desert, going on a hike. We like to walk, so I do take walks too. I know you brought that up. You said, do you go on a walk? Yes, walks definitely help. I mean, it helps especially because you're getting that flow, you know, when you move around, so that helps too. But yeah, I would say nature. So good question though, I like that. All right, that's some really great questions, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very impressed with some of your questions, these are awesome. Anybody else have any cool questions? Or did we get it? Yes, of course, go for it, sir. What was your name, sorry?
Aaron.
Aaron, hi Aaron, nice to meet you. I'm coming in.
Question.
Oh, well, that's okay, whatever question, whatever you wanna ask.
Do you mentioned going out in nature. Do you ever do you take your sketchbooks or your paintings and go like paint in, I forget what it's called, plein air or whatever it is?
Yes, oh, yeah. No, you're good. Thank you. Yes, actually I do. I do have a sketchbook, one that I just got recently too. But yeah, I definitely do sketches. Yeah, I love the moon a lot. So the moon is really inspiring for me. So I do a lot of artwork and paintings and drawings of the moon. So I like that you brought that up because that's what I've been sketching mostly lately is moons and things of that nature, you know,
Only because
space.
it's cool when the
Yeah.
moon is out. when
I
you
am
live
very
here.
drawn to the moon. Yes, I am a very moon person. I love the moon. I think the
Yeah.
moon inspires me too. Yeah, for sure. Especially now we have a super moon, you guys. The last one of the years is I think tonight, right? Tonight or tomorrow, I think, is super moon. Yeah, so definitely watch that. It's the last one of the year. So yeah, but yeah, I like that. Yeah. I actually also did a painting one time in Sedona. Like the Bell, you know, Bell Rock in Sedona. That inspired me a lot. Driving by that multiple times, I thought, man, I need to paint that. And I did. I took my canvas and I did a painting up there. It was really fun. And it was by myself. I didn't take anybody with me. It was just me. Yeah, I did that before COVID, I think. So yeah, that was about a few years ago. But yeah, I want to do more though, for sure. Yeah.